What is up, everybody? We are live. I got some great news updates. A whole bunch of cool stuff has been happening. I just want to share some updates real quick. First off, was Eric Weinstein and Michael Shermer had like it's called an honest dialogue, but it was like a skeptics challenge for real skepticism, and it was so awesome to see this. Eric Weinstein cited some of my research. Dr. Brian Keaton even put a link to some of my stuff in the description of the video. You can see he gives a link to Alien Scientist and gives a link to my channel there. Brian Keaton wrote me after this, and he says at the end of this thing that this is going to be his last segment that he's really going to do on UFOs and UAP until after this report comes out and more information and data come to light. But he's basically said in the email to me, he says in the email, not basically, he said in the email to me, he said that between me and Kurt Jamungal, of the Theories of Everything with Kurt, let me find his channel. Yeah, this is Theories of Everything with Kurt. We've been doing the best service to the physics. This guy's a theoretical physicist and an investigator. He's been super into this. He's actually secured interviews with people that I haven't been able to secure interviews with. I've reached out to many of these people to try to get interviews and discussions going, and not been able to get through to a lot of these people. So this is amazing to see him get through to some of these people with information and the interviews that he's been able to secure. He's got some great videos on his channel. Kurt will be joining me on tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Kurt will be having we're going to have a live chat, a whole discussion, and just give an introduction to his channel. But also Kurt is going to be interviewing Jeremy Corbell and Lou Elizondo this week after Monday. I think Wednesday or Thursday or later in the week. So I wanted, and he actually reached out to me for some questions. He said, can you come up with some good questions that we can ask these guys? So man, we got to come up with some good questions for Jeremy Corbell and Lou Elizondo for when he's going to be on Theories of Everything with Kurt. This is going to be epic week coming up, guys. Friday is, of course, the release of the UAP Task Force report, and we're going to see how much intelligence is actually in that Intelligence Select Committee's report versus the intelligence that we've been able to gather with our teams of researchers and investigators here in Alien Scientists and in the world of UFOs. Deep research on UFOs, the real researchers, man, not the experts you see on television and stuff. So without further ado, I want to get into some of the other stuff. Let's wrap up some of the stuff about Brian Keaton and Eric Weinstein. Guys, got to go watch this interview and check that out. I gave some timestamps here. It's gotten to be one of the top comments. So if you're subscribed to me, you'll see that when you go to the video. If you don't have time to watch the whole hour and 49 minutes, you can jump to some of those timestamps. There's some good stuff in the beginning, but it really gets going around those marks. And Eric nails it on these points and nails the skeptics to the wall, to where Michael Shermer's played this role, having skeptic.com, and Mick West is playing his role with as some people say, with his deep meta bunk. He's got this product to sell where he's got to call bunk on stuff. So that's kind of. And Eric just calls out his position in ways that I could never, put the words together and do myself. But Eric also cites in this around, about the anti-gravity programs that date back to the 1950s. So I know he's gotten a hold of my research here that I've put together, because I've been researching this, since I heard about Bob Lazar and Unsolved Mysteries back in the 90s. I've been, investigating where the real programs are. And I went to school for physics to learn about this stuff and dig into it. And this has been my specialty. I against all odds and people calling this subject completely crazy, I dug into this hard for 17 years. And this is lots of stuff with links and sources. Some of the stuff gets taken down too. The Alzaphon thing, I think, is already gone. The top one is already missing. But I have backups of it all, of course, and good stuff, man. That we've put together. Let's get into you know the FOIAs that have been filed. He mentions the 38 papers. Eric Weinstein's aware of the 38 papers, but he's not aware of like the deeper research and the paper and the stuff that goes beyond that. And of course, the bibliographies. Once you dive into the bibliographies that they use and start digging into the real research, which is very obscure and it's still like cutting edge and new, and not a lot of people know about these things or their capabilities, and it's not well versus public knowledge. It's not a subject that's well talked about going back in the history books. So it's awesome that I'm getting through to Eric Weinstein and also Brian Keaton, and the skeptics no longer have a platform to stand on when people like me have a voice and are able to get this information out to the public through for people like you and the audience members. So because there's a lot of people who watch this show who've been involved in this research in classified domains and want to see this information come to light, and they understand that there's a proper way to do this, and it's all just an experiment really at this point. So I guess there's a lot of people just letting it roll out now and see what happens, but they're also keeping it. It's also, I feel like the narrative is controlled from the top down, because there's a lot of stuff that's being portrayed in the mainstream. None of this stuff's being talked about, any of the real science or the physics or the technology and stuff. Even in this debate with these, intellectuals and stuff, they haven't yet dug in deep to a lot of this stuff, and gotten deep on the science. So despite, how, top of the field they are in physics and stuff. So there's a whole nother branch of physics, as we mentioned, that is now coming to light, and it's now peeking its head out into the mainstream intellectual world. And Eric Weinstein talks about a little bit about this, but we're going to get deeper into this now. So there's this idea of this invisible college, and this if you want to learn a little bit more about that, go watch this interview here with Diane Walsh Pasulka on Lex Friedman. And she has done some incredible research into this invisible college, this so-called, separate school of thought that's had access to a lot more information than the public has. So there's this whole idea that there's this whole that when they recovered this stuff, they didn't want to let it out to the general public, so they didn't go and bring it to Vannevar Bush of MIT, as the MJ12 documents claim that he was one of the MJ12 guys, Vannevar Bush, the scientist from MIT. But I don't think they would have brought it to one of a university like that. There's another theory that they would have brought it to more obscure and smaller places with like small, obscure, outside the box thinking physics departments. And rumor has it that the school that they picked was a school called University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So Chapel Hill was where they decided that they were going to start recruiting some scientists out of, and giving them a little bit more information than the general public, just to see what they could come up with. And so interesting history here. Cecil DeWitt and Bryce DeWitt were a husband and wife power couple that both Nobel Prize winners and distinguished scientists, and not very well known, but they were connected to Battelle. Did a lot of they put on these lectures for Battelle into advanced studies, dating back to the 60s. You can look up the Battelle rencontres if you want more information on this. Lots of theories and information on quantum gravity, black holes, quantum field theory. They talked about Lie groups, that E8 stuff that Garrett Lisi's got into and made popular. They were onto it back in the 60s with all this kind of stuff. That they really had a lot of this figured out, I believe, behind the scenes, more than what the public was ever told and learned about how the real universe is woven and put together. We're, of course, digging into a lot of that. We're talking to the top theoretical physicists in the field and introducing people to that information through this page and other pages and stuff. And as I mentioned, the stuff that we see in the mainstream is never really what's going on. So let's go and dig. I'm going to show this with fair use. This is the 60 Minutes encounters. It talks. This is the one that says about the
southeast of Virginia Beach in 2014 when they updated their jet's radar, making it possible to zero in with infrared targeting cameras.
So you're seeing it both with the radar and with the infrared, and that tells you that there is something out there.
Pretty hard to spoof that.
These photos.
So he says pretty hard to spoof that, but he doesn't say impossible. So we did some. I've been investigating a lot of this stuff as we had Victor on a couple of weeks ago and did that whole thing on the electronic warfare range, and just that was identified as being in that area that they showed in the 60 Minutes map. So we started our research there with some satellite, just basic reconnaissance of proximity, what's around there for military. And we found a whole bunch of stuff on the electronic warfare range and testing, like in that area. But we dug a little further into this Ryan Graves guy. And we were researching.
Bear with me, friends. There we go.
So this is great. This is from Steve Cambion's channel the other night, and
so this guy is in this.
So he goes to the BAE. So Victor went to the BAE electronic warfare page on their website, and you go to the videos page, right? Well, it scrolls down. It's not really a page. It just scrolls down to the videos. And if you click on this one at the end that says distributed electronic warfare, it brings up a video. And they watched all these videos, and
this video.
Check this out.
And he's on the media.
Today's military faces increasing threats. Adversaries with long-range multispectral electronics are challenging the warfighter's ability to access, communicate, and navigate in theaters of operation. To counteract these threats, BAE Systems is innovating technologies that, when integrated,
that's him.
New mission.
That is him. That is so funny. Let's watch it again. So I'll see if I can stop it there.
And navigate in theaters of operation. To counteract these threats, BAE Systems is innovating technologies that.
Great. So he's in the media going, I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. At the same time, he's working at this company which develops electronic warfare countermeasures and drone technology.
Not a company that does electronic warfare.
The company.
Leader in electronic warfare that had one of the contracts with DARPA to provide some of the stuff for Nemesis.
Yeah. Do we want to watch the rest? Do we want to watch the rest of this? I guess.
Nah, it's pretty boy. It just talks about electronic warfare.
Electronic warfare. Yeah.
New mission capable.
So this is a pretty bombshell thing that was on Steve Cambion. You can follow Truth Seekers on YouTube. Stephen Cambion. Definitely check out his channel. He's one of the best researchers. He actually does real research, and he's got a very seriously underrated channel. He's got a ton of great interviews, and this one just with Victor Calero, the work that Victor's done into Bob Lazar in the first half of this. Go watch this UFO report with Victor Calero if you want to know the truth about the physics and stuff that's going on and the capabilities, because there's some electronic warfare. This is the systems and the technology and the capabilities that currently exist. And if this stuff is aliens, I doubt we'd even see it, because they'd have such advanced, and they'd have invisibility and countermeasures. They wouldn't even see these things if they were aliens. This looks like something else entirely. It does not scream aliens at me. And none of these videos that the Pentagon have released, or the UFO, guys like Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp are putting out there in the public and saying that this is, the best of, this is what the UAP task force is looking at. This is the real of the real. Eric's not swayed by any of that stuff. And he beats the crap out of the skeptic, the so-called I call them pseudo skeptics, because I don't think they're actually being skeptical. They get Eric just rips it apart about how people are get paid to like basically sell narratives, and it's crap. So go watch that. I can't even touch that with my language abilities. And but anyways, Diane Walsh, Pasulka, definitely check that video out, and definitely check out Steve Cambion with Victor Calero. That's the best of the best from the last week for me, that I've seen out there, and definitely want to encourage people to see that. Hey, I'm going to give some shout outs to everyone in the chat. So everyone who just tuned in, we're talking about electronic warfare technology. We're talking about advanced physics. We're talking about really digging into this topic hardcore to get the real truth. I just want to give a shout out, Mr. Marley. What is up? Cordium 9000, Chris Spaghetti. Hey, how's it going, dude? Chris actually found out he lives like walking distance from the Falcon Space Lab, and he's gone down and visited a bunch of times, and we're gonna hang out and do a live broadcast next time I go down there. I'm thinking about going down there the week after next. Nicholas Talbot, what is up, man? Raffle Shark, always good to see you, dude. Jericho, some new names around here. Napalm Nails, I don't remember you. Mark, cool man. Thanks. I'm glad you're enjoying the work. Deep Thought, that's cool. Burger King, always a regular. What is up, man? Tim Cross too, what's up? Yes, Jeremy Corbell is definitely fake news. I don't know why people give him a free pass. They like nobody. Like we got to get some good questions for Kurt to nail Jeremy with, and really nail him to the wall on this stuff, because we got to be really clever about this, because we have some great opportunity coming up this week to nail these I call them frauds, UFO hoax promoters, to the people who aren't into the real stuff. They never talk about the real technology. They're good storytellers and good, you think we need Corbell. Yeah, he plays his own part, man. We definitely need, he's like the eyes of the regular people, I guess. Yeah. But we need people like, we also need people like Brian Keaton and, the skeptics too, like, Shermer and Mick West, because it's all important that we all play an important role in this, and arriving at like a real truth. In this Red Storm, what's up, man? And Mr. Catfish, man, you don't even know. Don't bother me with these facts, dude. Yes, ignore reality and create your own, man. That's pretty crazy that people will do that. But let me jump ahead because I'm going way back, dude. So Clueless, what's the real stuff? Clueless here, what's the real stuff? So the real stuff. So let's talk about real versus some of the stuff that's come out. So those Navy patents, right? We all remember the Sal Pais Navy patents, right? And Sal Pais, in those Navy patents, he says that you use this PZT material. He's got one that's for a fusion core reactor that was surprisingly similar to another group, a design I knew another group was working on, and kind of blabbed about to some people from the Navy, and then the Navy goes and patents this. It's I think that this stuff was taken through, some of this was real patents, patenting stuff that's gained through espionage, and some of it's slightly changed to obscure key details of the information and the physics. So when you talk about the real stuff, the real physics versus the fake physics, you go into this when you read about Pais effect, and that he's using a PZT effect for this room temperature superconductor patent. That's the more interesting one, because you get room temperature superconductors, you can build anti-gravity stuff. And that's this patent, the one with this metallic coating and the RTSC metallic wire, that whole thing with the core. So that is... it's not the complete information. It's not really the real stuff. So when you talk about the real stuff, you go and research some stuff on room temperature superconductors, and you find out that they're using something called Bose-Einstein condensate of surface plasmon polaritons. So a Bose-Einstein condensate is condensed matter. And when you get these polariton, exciton polariton pairs, it's basically it's a reaction particle for a photon going inside of a material. So when you get certain types of materials like metamaterials, you can trap photons really well, and they're tuned with resonantly to be able to absorb and trap photons and light particles. And if you get enough of these light particles trapped inside of it, you can create what's called liquid light, or a condensed light. And condensed light's much easier to create than condensed matter or a Bose-Einstein condensate. So you can create condensed light really easily. There's a whole 30-year history on the history of squeezed light and condensing light by squeezing it. And then there's a whole bunch of videos you can watch on PBS Space Time about what squeezing light means. And let's see, PBS Space Time. Squeezing light will break the Heisenberg, like it's basically almost breaking the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So you can watch this. So if you want to learn more about squeezed light, go to this one, breaking the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, right here. Watch that one, and watch some of these ones on warp drive. Does time cause gravity? That's a good one. And navigating with quantum entanglement. So these ones on quantum entanglement are really good too, because it explains kind of what quantum entanglement is and how it's so important to all the new physics that's going on right now. Well, going on in the public right now, because it's been going on in these private, invisible colleges since the 1960s. If you go back to Chapel Hill, and in fact, I wonder if Elizondo, that's one of the things I want to ask him, because Elizondo talks about this professor in one interview. He talks about that the guy who brought him into the program, right? The guy who brought Elizondo into the program is, he said was a theoretical physicist, like your quintessential theoretical physicist. So I want to know which college this guy was from. I want more information on who this guy was that brought Elizondo into the program, and why the program would be run by a theoretical physicist, as Elizondo claimed. That's a quite interesting piece of information. And from my research, I wouldn't be surprised if it's, let's see, someone who might work at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, like Bryce Dewitt did when he worked for, the Battelle Rencontres. I'm not sure if I'm saying that properly, but it's 1967 lectures in mathematics and physics. And it talks about Lie groups. It talks about, this reducibility factor of, and this idea of like all this stuff on geometric unity that Eric Weinstein's, talking about now, and Stephen Wolfram's getting into with the graph theory and that whole reinterpretation of physics. They were onto it back in the 60s. And I think it was a private college that figured this out, shortly after it took them like that long after 1947 to figure out what the hell this stuff was and how it worked. And I'm talking about, things like UFO debris that's been recovered and analyzed by the military. And that stuff is the real stuff that needs to come out. I really believe that they've recovered stuff. They knew about metallic glass and metamaterials, and a lot of the stuff they had hints about this stuff going back to the 1950s, and they kept it from mainstream science and the mainstream public, and really dumbed down a lot of stuff. I feel there's so many smart people out there that understand like this technology, what it can do. And as more people come into this and start, learning about it and realizing, holy crap, these are super materials that are way superior to anything we currently build airplanes out of. These are metamaterials really do have the ability to do some amazing things. And yes, if we get into room temperature superconductors, and I don't know, where we're going in the future is just so far beyond And I'm glad that channels like this are starting, the people who are getting into the physics are getting into this stuff, and they're starting to ask really good questions that are pushing the limits of our understanding. And it's just amazing to watch this all go down. I wish I had the ability to make videos this nice instead of just doing these stupid live streams, talking about other people's work and how amazing it is. But hey, we put the pieces of this together, and we're ahead of the curve. If you're on this channel and you're in tune to this information, I feel like we're ahead of the curve on a lot of this stuff that people are just learning about and just getting into. And yeah, go check out that stuff. Go check out those links. And I don't know what else to say other than come up with some good questions. We're going to have theories of everything with Kurt. Kurt's going to be on tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And he's going to be having Lou Elizondo and Jeremy Corbell on this week. So let's come up with some great questions to ask them. And yeah, that's it. So let's answer some questions before we go. Mario wants to know, have you seen the Russian dude on YouTube with the anti-gravity experimental craft? Yeah, that's Alexei Cherkanov. I think, I don't know how I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, but we've actually got a Russian translator and spoken with him. We're going to be I'll do an update with Mark soon about that. He's been working with a bunch of other people on the team to try to replicate that device and figure that out. Baby Yoda rules, man. So thank you for that. And you rock too. I'm probably going to be on Alien Girl. She wants to have me on her channel too. So check out her channel, and I'll be doing an interview on there coming up shortly too. So we've been discussing that. So definitely check that. And definitely smash the like button. It helps out a ton. It's like paying me because it gives me more views and boosts me in the algorithms that are already working against us. As we know, the shadow ban is real. Elizondo attended the University of Miami, where he double majored in microbiology and immunology. Interesting, given the so-called pandemic. Yes, I bet. This is the new conspiracy, right? Elizondo created the freaking corona. Anyways, this technology can rewrite history without time travel. I don't know. I don't really believe in time travel. Jack Sarfati seems to think it's real, and a couple other guys like Ronald Mallet, but I'm not so convinced till I meet time travelers from the future. The physicist that brought in Lou Elizondo was probably Hal Puthoff, don't you think? Puthoff obviously wasn't involved in the 40s and 50s. He wasn't even college by 1950. But he said that this guy was the quintessential theoretical physicist of what you'd imagine him to look like. But Hal Puthoff really doesn't, kind of have that look to him. I don't know. I'm feeling like it's going to be someone, I don't know. Maybe he just threw some disinformation about what the guy looked like to throw us off. It could have been Hal. Maybe it was Hal. But there might be other people too. We always have to be open-minded to, that. So that's a good point though. Tell Greer, that dude's a wacko. Right, because the fake alien invasion that they're going to do with all the electronic warfare technology that they got Ryan Graves on, they got Ryan Graves on 60 Minutes. They have this dude, Ryan Graves, on 60 Minutes telling them that this is, I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's probably aliens. And you go to their website, and there he is, right in their video. So he's working for them, developing this technology and then going on and saying, I'm a pilot, I'm a witness to this stuff, and there's no way it could be this. It's just all a little fishy, the way all these characters and the people involved in this all seem to connect. It's like a big puzzle, and it's, to anyone who's been in this, those connections aren't meaningless. They're not just, unless you're a coincidence theorist, right? So yes, yeah. All right. So Yeah, why did they slowly leak info? Why can't they just flash flood? Why can't they just drop a whole bunch of data for the like stuff that the scientific community might actually be interested in and want to look at? Why is it always the same cast of recurring characters? I mean, imagine the odds. Yes. It's you know, Greer set the pace for this, man. He got going good, but like he messed up. He messed up with Orion Project, and he just chased money and fame. Because I reached out to him years ago to help out with Orion Project and help him with the physics and weed out all the charlatans and frauds, and he didn't want nothing to do with me, and that's his loss. He got into a whole bunch of other complete nonsense and bullshit, and taking people out in the desert to watch helicopters dropping flares. Like it's ridiculous, man. What happened? He started out real good and set the pace for a lot of this stuff, but it just where he went with it just didn't follow through. And I think he just didn't have the right ideas, the right path forward, man. We actually have the best path forward. It's building a lab, replicating experiments, and digging hard into the science and trying to build this stuff. Because we're not going to force the government. The government's never going to disclose everything. They're not going to bring anything out, bro. That's my prediction. It's not going to happen. Nobody. I'm telling you, nobody's going to disclose unless it's you. Unless someone leaks a bunch of stuff. It's not like the government's ever going to admit anything. And all these guys that, they're all say I can't talk about. You ask Elizondo any of this stuff about electronic warfare technology and start, asking him why, if he knows anything about who Ryan Graves is and if he's involved in anything more, like if he's a paid actor. Because why are these people getting on 60 Minutes to spit this narrative repeatedly, man? It's a narrative. It seems like these guys are all paid actors, man. I'm sorry. That's what it looks like to me. I've been investigating this stuff for a long time. I see what the real information is, and I see what's being put out there. And I'm sorry, that's my interpretation of it. And a lot of people don't like it, but why is it that, you don't like it, but I don't get the airtime on 60 Minutes that these guys do? People say like, oh, how you could be the shill, and why do you say Jeremy Corbell's the paid, the working for Disinfo, and for all we know, you could be. It's like, bro, if I was working for Disinfo, I'd be in New York Times, I'd be on 60 Minutes, I'd be on Joe Rogan. Instead, I'm like fighting to get like through on organic platforms. I only got on Tim Pool because I knew Ian, and I've known Ian for like years. So it's like I had to work for real connections and work through real like organic development to get these contacts and get where I am. So, and I don't charge people money for my documentary on Bob Lazar, which everyone who has done the research knows that it's complete crap. So I could get on Joe Rogan, man. It would be something else, man. Or even just I gotta get Tucker, maybe. Hey, I'm willing to go on any of these shows, and because I would love to this narrative, this alternative view, like the alternative research and what we're exposing about the narrative that's out there is not getting any attention, man, and it should. The news agencies should be all over this. This is like big fake actor alert, when you get on this guy and then you find him on the board of BAE Systems that are developing these systems that can create objects in the air, create plasma balls, talking plasma balls. They can create flying tic tacs. They can they can spoof the radar as well so that the radar sees the tic tac too. This is not what people think it is. I keep telling people that they're getting their hopes up for like this big disclosure and everything that's going on. And it's not what people think it is. None of this stuff is what you think it is. If you're just getting into it, man, I feel sorry for you, because all the good information is so well hidden. It's like, unless you happen upon my channel and can get through the cognitive dissonance because you're seeing me and you're like, this guy's saying shit that just disagrees with everything I thought. I can't possibly, get into this, and then you leave. But it's crazy, man. What's going on, man? All right. Good morning, Renee. Happy Father's Day to everyone else out there. Tim Pool was great. You can try James Corbett or Richard Jolin. Go on Rachel Maddow. Hey, none of these people have my email, right? thealienscientist@gmail.com. Smash that like button. All right. Send this video to as many news people as possible. Tell them, hey, why aren't you having this guy on? This guy's been providing a counter narrative steadily for 17 years on this topic. He's way more of an expert than Corbell or any of these guys that just got into ufology a few years ago. And why aren't you having him on? Oh, thank you for $10, man. That's great, man. That just made my day. I'm gonna go buy myself something for Father's Day. Special, man. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Fox. Everything helps out, man. It's awesome. But anyways, yeah, Project Palladium started back in the 60s with radar spoofing. So they've had some interesting, the CIA has been developing and has had some interesting technologies for quite a while. Let's see. When were lasers invented? So lasers. So the invention of the laser, I just want to get the actual date, The first laser was built in 1960, okay? So just think about, they build the first laser, and then after that, they're going to be able to they're going to build higher and higher powered lasers. And of course, we had ray guns and laser guns. The idea of this goes back even further than 1960 in the sci-fi literature. So you can imagine that the military started experimenting and throwing a lot of money into laser research in the 1960s. And why not? Why not? So I don't know. I think that there's also, people who say that there's sightings and weird things. We also had hot air balloons and like Chinese lanterns. You could have released a bunch of Chinese lanterns in 1400 AD, and it could have been mistaken for a fleet of UFOs. So there's a lot of ambiguity in this and no hard evidence. And that's why the scientific community thinks this is all a load of shit and doesn't even give it the time of day. And that needs to change, because we need to get the scientific community aware that there's a invisible college. There's a whole bunch of literature, major aerospace companies and military programs investigating this stuff. That's all very real. Not like the Bob Lazar story, which has zero evidence to support it. And anyone who looks into the minutia and details of the case understands that it's complete disinformation and a complete distraction. Bringing people out to the middle of Papoose Lake and south of Area 51. Yeah, Area 51, a lot goes on there, but there's so many other places that really exist that there's evidence for. There's never been any evidence of a base at Papoose Lake, and everyone who thinks that there's one hiding under a molehill there that because Bob Lazar told them that story is you're a fool. You're just a fool. There's nothing to it. The physics is in these surface plasmon polaritons. And if you don't believe me, go look up that guy Isaac Kemp, the contractor that was working for Air Force Research Labs and got charged with taking home documents in Fairborn, Ohio. The former Air Force contractor, he pled guilty to taking home top secret documents from Air Force Research Laboratories at the Terahertz and Ultrafast Photonics Research Lab, where he worked at Wright State University. And he did his PhD thesis in surface plasmon polaritons, which is that stuff that I've been talking about. And that's all I have to say. You can believe what you want, but at the end of the day, unless you're an actual physicist and you're ready to dig into the information and ready to open your mind, then you're not going to, and I can't discount Bob. I mean, hey, I could be completely wrong about Bob and his element 115, because Corbell could come out tomorrow with that sample that they said they have, right? So Corbell keeps calling for the government to end disclosure and that they should produce the proof, but yet he has claimed that he has this element 115, that Bob has the evidence of it. So they have the proof. They could come forward with that and definitively just prove that the whole thing's true, and that would be the end of it. He has the scientific proof. So I can discount Bob because he claims he has the scientific proof of this element 115, yet Jeremy Corbell is calling on the government to declassify and disclose and all this stuff when he has the proof. And the whole thing's, oh my God. If you believe this, if you believe these people and what's going on, none of it makes sense, dude. So yeah, but I don't think, unless a real stable isotope of element 115 is discovered or appears, and the science is real, then there's no reason to believe that story at all. We have real physics and we have real science. We have documented history of 70 plus years of programs that I showed you on that website, and there's links to in the description. So please go check that out and get, I don't know who needs to hear about this, but there's going to be a time when people no longer, dude, I got everything else he describes, dude. All right. We've got the whole case, every piece of scientific, believe me, like I've been I haven't researched this for 17 years, bro. Like I haven't watched every single Bob Lazar interview, including stuff you can't even find anymore because it's all been taken down. All right, tell me, buddy, I don't know about this. I have a whole big, huge page about it. So it's a bunch of poop. Element 115 is it's like a red herring. It's called a red herring if you are familiar with intelligence terminology. A red herring is when they smear this trail so it has the smell of the bait, of everything you'd want, and it just gets you to chase something that's not really there. That's it. It's a tactic. Go look it up. They're using all these intelligence tactics. It's all that's going on right now in the mainstream media is psyop after psyop after psyop. We got, the guy saying, there's no, telling them that he doesn't think it would be really hard to do that. Yeah, it'd be really hard to do that. You do really hard stuff. You get millions of dollars in funding to do really hard stuff. And it's all right here. And you work for them. No conflict of interest there. You're not a paid actor. None of these people giving this narrative in the media are paid actors. Come on. All right, I got to go answer this. This is the government calling. It's Jeremy Corbell.